When I was in high school, my best friend shoved a book in my hands and demanded that I read it, so that I could subsequently be dragged to watch a movie that I didn't necessarily want to see, which had been adapted from said book that I similarly didn't necessarily want to read. She was my best friend though, and my social life was sorely lacking, and thus I was introduced to Before I Fall. Before I Fall is a piece of young adult fiction by Lauren Oliver that was bound to loop in young teens such as myself and my friend with its gushy plotline and young teen characters. At the time, I was neither here nor there for this book that had so captured my friend's attention, which made it all the more amazing that its theatrical adaptation still managed to disappoint me. Even though I had casted both of the fictional works out of my mind, my conceived grudges against the book's big screen adaptation persevered, which is why, when I came across Before I Fall on Netflix, I felt inspired to revisit the movie that I hated so much all those years ago, and from that rewatch, bring you this video. Spoiler alert, I still hate this movie. Before I Fall is told from the perspective of Sam, a high school girl who's reliving the day of her death over and over. Whether she lives or dies, in a Groundhog's Day-like fashion, at the end of each day she wakes once again to the sound of her alarm clock that morning. It's a fairly simple plotline that we've seen before and since. When it comes to movies about repeating the same day over and over, Groundhog's Day will always hold a special place in my heart. But I've seen several unique takes on the idea which I've enjoyed, most notably of which is Russian Doll, one of my favorite shows on Netflix. Happy Death Day, though I did not personally love it, I have to admit is a clever horror twist on the idea. I don't hate the idea of a movie that follows this plotline. In fact, I'm intrigued by it. But I won't be the first to point out that such plotlines tend to be repetitive. This is where I run into my biggest issue with the Before I Fall film adaptation. Upon rereading Lauren Oliver's book, I still fall under the category of neither loving or hating it. This said, I still believe that it is an impressively unique take on the repeating the same day over and over plot. The book is about Sam realizing her faults and the impact that her actions have on others. She is not a good person, and the author thoroughly displays this through her actions. This leaves Sam a lot of room to improve as a character. By the novel's end, she's not perfect, but she realizes that. She has grown to be more selfless and aware of others. I would argue that the day repeating is merely a tool for her to get to this point rather than just a plot gimmick. The book doesn't dwell on the Groundhog's Day thing quite like the movie does. In almost every instance of the Groundhog's Day effect, as I'll call it, you see the character realize that the day is repeating in the same copy-paste fashion. Set up a bunch of weirdly specific events that the movie hones in on during the first round before the day has begun to repeat itself, and then proceed to milk those repeating elements dry, and maybe at some point have the main character flip out as they grow tired of the never-ending cycle. It all becomes very repetitive. Groundhog's Day did it, Happy Death Day did it, Russian Doll did it, and of course, painfully so, Before I Fall did it. As someone who is fascinated with the butterfly effect, it greatly disappointed me to discover, upon rereading the book, that this was something that was heavily relevant to the plot of Lauren Oliver's novel. But the most we get from the movie is a brief scene in the cafeteria where Sam's friend Allie is going on about it. They try slapping in a narration of the butterfly effect comments resonating with Sam, but there's nothing to support it, and it just comes off as empty rhetoric. Before I Fall, the book falls back on a few of the Groundhog's Day effect tropes, but upon the first day repeat, it starts to delve into butterfly effects, which were mentioned earlier in both the movie and the book, breezing past the details that stay the same and instead focusing on the various differences. Since I rewatched the movie first, the butterfly effect line felt very odd and out of place, and the reason for that is because it never really comes up again. The book builds this line as its central theme. Sam's actions have consequences, which are revealed to her as she discovers the events triggered by her actions. Because of this, something else happens that only happens because of the first action. This is the basic concept of the butterfly effect. Because Sam is running late on the second day, Lindsay doesn't steal the parking spot from Sarah. Thus, Sarah gets a closer parking spot and is not late for class. Thus, she does not get detention and is not kicked off the swim team. Because of Lindsay's actions on the first day, Sarah was late for class, and this change shows the consequences that her and her friends' actions place on others. It's the same way with the way Sam cheats off of Lauren, causing her to get in trouble. These are very interesting elements that the book delves into that the movie, for some absurd reason, chose to completely ignore. Neither of these characters even exist in the movie. There is also a whole plot line which involves this kid Alex, who is cheating on his girlfriend with Anna Cartulo, the girl seen here. Because of an interaction between Sam and Lindsay and Alex and Anna, the two get into a fight which lead to them getting caught smoking in the school parking lot when he was supposed to have been at a doctor's appointment. Bridget finds out that he was lying and breaks up with him. This series of events only happens because of Sam and Lindsay's interaction with them. On the second day, when Sam avoids the pair, Bridget does not discover her boyfriend's infidelity, thus, they are still together at the party that night. Now, I have described to you these three events because, of all the people involved, this girl Anna is the only one who actually makes it into the movie, and it appears that they drained all of the butterfly effect related things into her character. In the book, she was sleeping with another girl's boyfriend, and he got caught. The movie boils this all down into one line that places Anna in the Alex position of the whole situation. Because of a Snapchat story that Lindsay supposedly posted, Anna got caught cheating on her girlfriend. Now, instead of a conversation about Lindsay having stolen the parking space from Sarah, that being the reason she got sent to detention and kicked off the swim team, this is the conversation that sparks Allie's butterfly effect comments. The butterfly effect line is triggered by their conversation about Anna's infidelity on Lindsay's Snapchat story, and Sarah and the stolen parking space are left completely out of the film. A third, weaker, but still valid enough to mention example can be found in the Lauren character that Sam cheated off of in her chemistry class. Sam doesn't do any cheating in the movie, unless you count this, but Anna is sitting where the Lauren girl would have sat if she existed. Now, you may have read the book, and you may be going, hey, that's not the class that Sam cheats off of Lauren in, this is a dumb assumption. And to that I say, this whole video is filled with dumb assumptions, and that's something you should accept. But also, if I may counter, in the book, this history class is supposed to be a math class, and Sam doesn't have any classes with Anna. Also, this is the only class that we see Sam attend in the film. So those are my assumptions, and I'm sticking to them. Also, they made her gay for some reason, changing the bathroom graffiti from Anna Cartulo equals white trash to Anna Cartulo equals bull dyke, and giving her my least favorite line in the movie.
I'm in heteronormative hell.
At least I only have to hear this repeated 3 more times. But hey, she's played by the girl from Santa Clarita Diet, another of my favorite Netflix shows, so it's impossible for me not to love her character. She was also in Let It Snow, but I try to forget about that movie. The point that I am trying to derive from all of this is that this movie seems to try to remove every trace of what makes the book interesting and makes it more than just a story with a Groundhog's Day plot. It specifically chooses to embrace the Groundhog's Day tropes that the book breezed past, even going so far as to include a montage of Sam waking up, because what good is a Groundhog's Day movie without using every last trope? In Lauren Oliver's novel, Sam specifically relives the same day 7 times. She snaps on the 4th day, not the bazillionth as the movie displays. On the 2nd day, she relives it and realizes that it's the same day. On the 3rd, she avoids dying and realizes that it doesn't matter whether she lives or dies. The day is still going to repeat. It's on the 4th day that she realizes that there is no point. The day is going to reset no matter what she does. Because the book is able to focus on each day, amplifying her evolving thoughts and emotions, we get a more natural evolution of the plot. I guess that the movie couldn't fit that in, so they decided to replace 7 carefully spanned days which have significance and bring the story together, making it interesting and engaging, with a pop music montage of her waking up over and over again. I'm not here to police whether or not a movie followed a book exactly, because I don't believe it has to. I just feel that there was definitely a better way of going about adapting this book. And the fact that I don't even like this book and it still manages to rile me, I think says a lot about just how bad of a job this movie did interpreting the source material. The book's plot aside, this movie is pretty terrible. I hate almost everything about it. It's filled to the brim with annoying pop songs, bad writing, and overall bad creative choices. And to jump back on the comparing the film to the book train, if a filmmaker is going to take creative liberties with the details of the source material, it should be to maintain a translation's quality, and maybe even improve on the story in the process. Not every detail in an author's writing is going to translate well to the screen. The two are very different mediums. For example, the film is absent of the gang's matching Cupid Day outfits, which I see absolutely no problem with. It might have come off as cheesy and dumb, taking away from the story's somber tone. But it's hard for me to stand and defend that point when the film throws dumb pop song montages in my face. It's difficult for me to take a film seriously when it makes creative choices like this. And this film made so many bad creative choices and creative liberties that only stand to make the story worse. This is not what you should do. The butterfly effect theme being taken out almost entirely is obviously the biggest creative liberty that did the most damage to this film's potential. You could probably tell that from the fact that I spent such a large chunk of this video ranting about it. What can I say? I love butterfly effects. I'm very passionate about this. Do I regret having watched this movie or read its book? No, not really. Would I put myself through it again? No, probably not. Do I like this movie? No, absolutely not. Purely based on me failing to remember that Butterfly Effects had anything to do with its narrative, and as one could tell, me being quite fond of such things, I will say that I don't dislike this book quite as much as I thought I did. My grudges against the movie, however, remain cleanly intact.